It's all about running yellow lights and breaking radar guns. That's right, we're talking sports cars.
Sports cars come in many forms and many shapes.
That's the allure for everybody with a sports car. It's a thrill thing.
And we're ranking the top 10 greatest.
If it can't go, then it doesn't deserve to be on the list.
From the sleek and stylish,
anyone that saw it, even if you knew nothing about cars, was like, wow, what is that?
to the super fast and ultra rare.
The Dodge Viper, that's an insane sports car.
Is it one of the best race cars of all time? Absolutely.
And as you'll see, not everyone agrees.
Corvette is truly one of the greatest cars ever.
Garbage. Hot garbage. Shouldn't be on the list at all.
A panel of 100 experts ranked our rides using 3 criteria: stats, innovation, and legacy. Which one do you think will take the checkered flag?
This car was so bold, so striking, that it took everything to the new level. You could make an argument that the Lamborghini Countach was really the first supercar.
A Lamborghini Countach is basically one of the sickest cars you will ever see. I mean, just the sleek design. It just has that look of speed. It looks so aerodynamic, like it's a bullet, a rocket.
When the Lamborghini Countach first came out, everyone was talking about it. A Lamborghini is a whole nother animal.
Lamborghini got its start because Lamborghini made tractors. The guy who started the company made enough money that he was able to buy himself a Ferrari. So he gets it, and he loves it. Except the clutch keeps going out. He goes to Enzo Ferrari's house, knocks on the door, and is like, hey, this clutch stinks. I don't like your garbage. I'm gonna go make a better car than you.
Ferruccio Lamborghini hated Enzo Ferrari. Mr. Lamborghini just wanted Enzo to feel pain.
And that's how we got it. I mean, Pride started this whole other manufacturer, which turns out has given us some incredible cars, and it gave them an overnight rivalry.
I remember when the Countach first came out, I'm thinking, how do you pronounce the name? Is it Countach, Countach? Well, it's Countach.
The Countach is Piedmontese dialect for holy sh. It's just so striking to look at that they went with it. It was an aerodynamic masterpiece in a lot of ways. The way the air flowed over that wedge. But it didn't turn very well. It was never really a great race car. It was about appeal to the eye and appeal to the senses.
Just makes my heart go pitter-patter. You look like you are from the future driving one.
Part of the styling thing that was so cool about the Lamborghini Countach was the doors.
It was designed for Italians. Short legs, long torso. If you're built differently, you may not find yourself being very comfortable in these cars.
The Countach came out in 1985. It was $120,000, which is roughly like $330 today.
Wow, Rut, that's a lot of scratch. The question is, can you even use and enjoy a Countach?
Yes, if you're Jay Leno in the 80s, that was his daily driver, but that's a crazy town person. What's the point of having a sports car if you can't use it all the time and enjoy it?
The Countach isn't the best car for running the kids to practice. Not a lot of room for gear in there. But for style and speed, the Tosh had it all. So, what could possibly beat it out for the greatest sports car of all time?
Corvette is truly not just one of the greatest American cars of all time, but it's really one of the greatest cars ever across the world. There's people all over the world that lust for a Corvette.
I would say the greatest sports car of all time is probably the Corvette. It's only you and your boo basically in the car because it's only a 2-seater, which is great. I have kids, so I love the Corvette for those purposes.
A little high on the list, but it deserves a spot in the top 10.
The Corvette has always been General Motors' pinnacle engineering and performance piece, and it's absolutely a greatest of all time contender for sports car supremacy.
Chevy Corvette for me is like an NFL franchise. Like, had its good years, had its lean years, had its tough years, had its Super Bowl wins.
Historically, sports cars are a British phenomena. Immediately before World War II and right after World War II, a lot of American GIs in Europe for the first time saw things like Triumphs, MGs, and cars like that. Here in America, we didn't really have a sports car until 1953 when the Chevy Corvette came out.
Chevy named the Corvette after a naval strike ship from World War II to appeal to American men who'd served in the war.
The idea was to try to make a sports car that was like an American Ferrari.
It was all about building a car that got everybody's attention, building a car that would make people think Chevrolet was cool.
Harley Earl was this legendary designer for GM. The Corvette looked way different from anything else that was around at that time. More aerodynamic, more sleek, more sporty, and it gave you this feeling of passion while it was sitting still.
The first Corvette came out, and it blew people away. They were all white, and it had an engine called the Blue Flame, which is a very small engine and not enough power.
It was sort of this space age technology to make a body in fiberglass, which is a woven material that was supposed to be lighter.
And the beauty of fiberglass is that it doesn't require the expensive 50-ton stamping machines that steel bodies and steel panels require, and they can change it year from year for minimal investment.
People loved the Corvette right from the beginning. What they didn't do was buy the Corvette. They weren't selling big numbers at all. In fact, when the 1955 Thunderbird came out, it massively outsold the Corvette.
Chevy threw a V8 in the Corvette, and suddenly it was a total game changer because they gave the car more power, more sound, but it still had this sort of classy vibe. It wasn't necessarily seen as the sports car just yet. That took a few more years, most notably the 1963 Corvette Stingray.
When the Stingray came out in the 60s, Chevy had a clever idea to generate buzz. Give them to astronauts.
Back in the mid to late 60s, nothing was cooler than being an astronaut. So Chevrolet wanted astronauts to drive Corvettes. I mean, it was the perfect combination.
If you're gonna gift people who went into space a car, that car better look like it belongs in space. It seems to me that would be the Chevy Corvette.
NASA was like, no, the astronauts can't be accepting gifts from Chevrolet. So Jim Rathman, who had a Chevrolet dealership down in Florida, he came up with this brilliant plan. We're not going to give the astronauts cars. We're going to lease them a car for $1 a year.
One of the greatest automotive marketing moves I've ever seen. Corvette is so cool. People that left this planet and went to the moon and came back love this car. You'll love it too.
Wow, astronauts drive Corvettes? Now I'm sold. But what about staying power? Vets sure have been around a long time.
They've been around for 70 years now. To say you like Corvettes, I would have to say which one.
Mid-80s, cars were super plasticky looking. The C5 were getting a little better. Then they unveiled the C7 and people thought, well, this is amazing. How can you make it any better?
They come out with the C8 Corvette, a mid-engine Corvette. And I gotta tell you, it has rocked the sports car world.
It's substantially cheaper than anything out of Italy and will hang with or beat most of those cars. So the Corvette of today is alive and well.
The Corvette is America's sports car. It's not European, doesn't have a 4-cylinder, not a 6, always a V8. Great car for an American hero.
What do you need to own to have a Corvette? It's pretty simple. Some jean shorts, a gold chain, and a tank top. That's all you need.
They've always been a part of history, and they always will be. And as long as they don't make an SUV out of it, they're seriously talking about making the Corvette an SUV. Supposedly, it's in the works. Don't wreck a brand.
We've seen some wild rides in our bottom 9, including Hollywood icons, the sexy European variety, and the everyman sports car. And while many of you at home might disagree with where your favorite car was ranked, isn't that what complaining on the internet is for? At number 1, it's the GOAT of them all, the Ford Mustang. What else?
Mustang blew everybody's mind. It was really the first people's sports car.
The Mustang is like an affordable car that everyone could have. You know, it was kind of a Mr. Potato Head. You could add go-fast parts to it, get performance out of it. There's so many different iterations of it.
These vehicles are really just a piece of history, and everybody has a Mustang story.
Well, the Ford Mustang, to some purists, is not a sports car. I beg to differ.
Here's the deal. The Ford Mustang is a great car, but it's also a car that they make an economy version. Have you ever seen a Ferrari Testarossa that someone commutes in? No, because it's a true sports car.
The Mustang was one of America's first cars tailored toward baby boomers. By 1962-3, millions of people under the age of 18, 19 were starting to drive for the first time. They all needed cars. So Detroit started building cars specifically toward the baby boomers.
April 17th, 1964, Ford brought out the Mustang. They brought it to the World's Fair. They knew it would be popular. They called it the Secretary's car, but they didn't realize it was going to turn into a whole historic, significant car.
One of the great things about the Mustang was the way it was able to evolve. You had the people who were driving the low horsepower car. They thought they were cool because they had the great looks, but then people were also willing to have the high performance and say, yeah, it may look like that Secretary's car, but my car is cool underneath.
To give you an idea how successful it was, in a one-year period, they sold 650,000 cars. That's a lot of cars.
It was kind of shocking to everybody. And I think it shocked Chevy, it shocked Dodge, it changed the whole landscape.
But they sold so many that it inspired GM to say, whoa, we didn't think this was gonna be this big. So they came up with the Camaro as quick as they can. And you could see people scrambling to produce competitive cars because the Mustang was selling not just as a 6-cylinder, but also sold as a V8. People were finding what they wanted.
And then a year later, Mustang shows what it can do on the streets of San Francisco with a guy named Steve McQueen behind the wheel.
Steve McQueen showed that that vehicle could go through those San Francisco streets. Pretty much it felt like on 2 wheels, but you could really see its capabilities.
But it really cements the Mustang as an icon, kind of makes everybody think, if I have one of those, I'm gonna be cool as well.
To this day, the Mustang is the longest produced car in Ford history. Between 2015 and 2020, they sell over 500,000 of those ponies. I think it's safe to say people love this car.
The new Mustangs, I love those bodies. I mean, it's a go-to, obviously engineered very well. A lot of horsepower, done right.
Garbage. Hot garbage. Shouldn't be on the list at all. Don't hate, you know it shouldn't be on there.
I think on anybody's list of GOAT cars, the Mustang has to be, if not at the top, near the top. It tapped the American vibe for exactly what consumers wanted at the right time. I mean, at one point, Camaro disappeared, Firebird's gone, but the Mustang has stayed the course all the way through.